Just a quick introduction about me. I am PoojaTaparia, founder and CEO of Arpan, a leading organization in India working on child sexual abuse prevention and intervention since the last 15 years. Vidya Balan is one of the most known, loved, and respected actors in Bollywood today. The recipient of several awards, which we all know, including the National Film Award, 6 Filmfare Awards, 6 Screen Awards, and several others. She is a Padma Shri awardee, one of the highest civilian honors by the Government of India. She pioneered a change in the concept of a Hindi film heroine and is referred to as the first female hero of modern times. Vidya is credited with ushering in female-centric cinema in Bollywood. She is one of the few actresses to have been able to garner both critical and commercial success for films like The Dirty Picture, Ishqiya, Kahaani. With every film, she breaks the mold and offers us memorable characters like the recent Kahaani 2, Begum Jaan, Tumhari Sulu, Mission Mangal, Shakuntala Devi. Besides being known for her path-breaking work in cinema, she is also known for the humanitarian causes she has supported over the years. Her contributions in the area of sanitation, education, and women's empowerment have been hugely affected. She's also joined Arpan as its Goodwill Ambassador since 2018 and helped us promote the message of prevention of child sexual abuse. Thank you so much, Vidya, for supporting Arpan for all these years and being that big rock pillar behind us, and for joining us today.
Thank you.
Sujoy Ghosh is an Indian film writer, director, actor, and producer who is well known for his critically acclaimed movies like Jhankar Beats, that was one of my favorites, Sujoy, Kahaani, we all love it, Ahalya, and Badla. The filmmaker started the trend of multiplex movies in Bollywood with his directorial debut, Jhankar Beats, in 2003, which went on to become a super hit. Ghosh's mystery thriller film Kahaani, which released in the year 2012, was his path-breaking female lead movie for which he bagged many awards, including a National Film Award for Best Screenplay and a Filmfare Award for Best Director. In 2016, his film Kahaani 2 was released, which is a sequel to Kahaani. With his 15-minute short film Ahalya, he started the trend of mainstream directors making digital short films. His crime thriller Badla received a widespread acclaim and emerged as a content film of the year for its nail-biting plot that left the audiences at the edge of their seats till the very last moment. Right, let's get going. Thank you so much, Sujoy, for being here and for joining us at this Talk the Talk webinar
thank
today.
You.
Really
thank
appreciate
you, Pooja,
it.
for letting me being on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I'm sure everybody remembers Kahaani 2, but a short introduction. If you remember, it was released in 2016, a thriller film based on the story of Durga Rani Singh, the role Vidya played, a survivor of child sexual abuse. This gripping film, as you know, was directed by Sujoy, and Durga Rani Singh was portrayed by Vidya in a very sensitive yet powerful way, inspiring people to be more aware of the issue of child sexual abuse and to provide a safe environment for children. So Joy, I would like to begin with you. What inspired you to make Kahaani 2 on the issue of child sexual abuse?
It actually started with a story I heard in England about this child, a little girl who was attentive in class. She didn't pay attention, and her mind was somewhere else, and kept thinking she's just one of those child who has, who didn't like studying. And one day she just fell asleep in class, to which her teacher took her aside and said, "Darling, look, you can't do this kind of thing. It's very disrespectful to fall asleep in class. You must pay attention." To which she just blurted out saying, "But they don't let me sleep at night." And that's the only time she said it. And the teacher got very concerned, and she took it upon herself to further investigate and find out exactly what happened. And that story, when I heard, left a strong mark in me. And I always wanted to look into that subject, but I think I needed some time to learn about it myself, to probably have some sensibility or be mature enough to handle a subject like that. So as and when I kept thinking about doing something on that because I felt it was very important and something we must talk about, being a parent myself. So I think once we did Kahaani and we were allowed to, thanks to Vidya, we were allowed to make films without stars or male stars, for example. And Vidya became my star, so she allowed me to make a film like this, which otherwise we wouldn't be able to. And I think that's the time I went to her with the subject, and she very kindly agreed. And then we went on to make something which I think we both believed in, which we thought should be said rather than what would be the outcome of the film. It was something we felt would be should be talked about. So that's how it happened. It's something
Right.
which needed to be said. And us, at least me being a filmmaker, this is my only way of expressing my thoughts or beliefs to the society. So I thought I have an opportunity to do something like this, so might as well exploit it. So we said it, and thanks to Vidya, we managed to say it relatively well.
Wonderful. And Vidya, what did you feel when you heard about the role of Durga Rani Singh for Kahaani 2? What were your thoughts?
What has always troubled me about the issue of child sexual abuse is the fact that it happens, the perpetrator is most often someone who the child trusts. So if it's not bad enough that a child is being abused, the fact that the trust is being broken, that there is that kind of betrayal where the child then loses faith for the rest of his or her life, I used to find extremely upsetting and disturbing. I'm a student of sociology, and I've read up enough on child sexual abuse. But when Sujoy came to me with this idea, I thought, if we are able to actually tell this story through a film, so we can get people to talk about it and also realize that this is a possibility within families, something that we never want to acknowledge. Maybe this can be a conversation starter, and maybe it could save one child's life. If it could save more, great, but at least maybe one child would have the courage to go and talk about what was happening with him or her. And I think film is such a potent medium, and I just thought it was great, people, and because we were calling it Kahaani 2, people were expecting it to be, we knew that people would come to watch the film, and we didn't reveal the child sexual abuse angle until they entered the theaters. They didn't know what they were in for.
Yes.
So I think that was also a bit shocking for audiences. It was maybe a little too much for them to stomach, but it was, like Sujoy said, it had to be said. And it's a film I'm very proud of having done. Every day on that set was a challenge because of what, because we saw these lovely children. Minnie, who was a little girl initially and then grows up to be a 14-year-old, played by two different girls. But having gone through this, they had to enact these scenes, and that was for me horrific. Just the thought of getting those kids to do it was so disturbing. And I kept thinking, but if you don't do this, then there are other kids who are living through this reality. So you have to get through this.
Yeah.
And if I may add to it,
yes.
And I've seen Vidya do this. I've seen what she has gone through on the sets, and probably when we were writing it, it was equally disturbing. But actually, when she was doing that role, I've seen her crying her eyes out on the set. And there are times when we had to stop shoot. Sorry, I'm just letting because she was too. I don't know what the words are, but it was actually quite challenging to enact some of the scenes. Because it plays in your head. The worst thing about these things are it plays in your head, whether you're writing it, whether you're enacting it, whether you're whatever, and that can be quite disturbing. And she rightly says, for those kids to enact it, and those unfortunate children who has gone through this, I'm happy we made this. I'm happy she did what she did.
We are all happy you did what you did, both of you. I think after Kahaani 2, so many people were talking about the issue of child sexual abuse. We got calls, there was a lot of acknowledgement. I think it did amazingly for starting conversations more than ever before after the film got released. So I think for the issue, it was just fantastic. Absolutely. Suja, you chose a middle upper class family setting for showcasing the issue of child sexual abuse. And I wonder, why did you choose that socioeconomic strata? Was there a particular thought behind that?
No. No, actually, no, we didn't. If that how it came across, then I've gone wrong. I chose a family. So probably because they were in that Kalimpong setting, they looked a little more affluent than the rest. But my thing was, it's an average family. I mean, that's at least how I intended for people to see it. And it happens in every social strata. This thing doesn't look at caste, creed, or strata. It happens. So no, it just the family we chose, which happens. And I guess because they stood out in that environment of Kalimpong, they looked a little more affluent, they looked a little more powerful. But that was not the intention, Pooja. If that how it came across, then I've gone wrong a little.
No, not really. Of course, it showcases incest, but of course, the setting, in a bungalow, all of this is, of course, there. But what came out very clearly was an uncle abusing a child and a family member abusing a child. So that was, of course, that came out very, very strongly. And we definitely need to talk about incest that goes on in families and is hardly ever spoken about.
Like Vidya said, it's always somebody you trust.
Yeah.
So I think that's the key thing. It's somebody, a child, a person, a child trusts, whether irrespective of the relationship to the child, and that's what's scary.
Yeah.
So uncle happened to be the chosen one in this case, but it's the disturbing fact is it's somebody the child trusts, and the same person betrays.
Data, we do see that family members and known people are often the perpetrator. Even a government study showed that 70% people of the perpetrators are somebody known to the children. So there's no doubt about it that it's the known people often. Vidya, I have a question for you. Sujoy told us about how he saw this and heard about the story of this girl and who says, "Mujhe wo raat mein sone nahi dete," and the film beautifully captures Durga Rani Singh's curiosity with Minnie the child. She notices a bruise. She tries to become friendly with Minnie to find out what's going on. And, there's a strong message out there about the action that Durga Rani Singh is taking. Would you want to talk and shed some light on that?
Yeah, I think Durga was herself a victim of child sexual abuse. She was a survivor, and she was obviously maladjusted. She was very uncomfortable with any form of social interaction. She hated her body. She didn't take care of herself at all. She was, I think, rejecting any scope of happiness through relationships in her life because she didn't think she deserved it. She didn't think she was worthy of it. And here, when she sees this child mirroring what she's probably been through, she feels like, oh, maybe if I saved this child, I could get rid of my guilt. Because I think that's the other devastating truth about child sexual abuse, that the victim ends up feeling guiltier than the perpetrator does. And, I think I remember when you and I spoke about this the first time we met, Pooja, and I have to tell everyone that I met Pooja in connection with Kahaani 2 because I wanted to know about, a lot more in detail about the kind of cases she comes across and just the psychology of a victim and all of that. And she was really helpful. So thank you for that, Pooja. But, when we spoke about it also, I think I remember very clearly you saying that most of the work that you do with victims is around letting them know that they have nothing to be guilty of,
Absolutely.
that you're not at fault, you did no wrong, so I think that was most crucial for me, for us on the film. And I think that was what propelled her to help that child, feeling like maybe she couldn't do anything for herself, but maybe if she did it for little Minnie, maybe she would feel better about herself. She'd feel worthy of living this life. And that's how it starts out, and there's this, she's almost manic in her, initially it just starts out as a curiosity. Once there is confirmation, I think there is a certain madness to her, because she's possessed by this need to save Minnie.
Yeah.
And that's how the film played out, and I think, oh God, even now when I think back of certain scenes, like that scene with, I'm digressing a bit, but that scene with Minnie when no, but that scene when I actually asked Minnie, I'm trying to goad her into telling me what exactly is transpiring within the four walls of that house, and I tell her that, listen, a friend of mine touched me and I didn't like it. So I'm trying to slowly see if she reacts to that. And she said, even I don't like it. And then that's my in, and then I start asking her questions. And that child had to say that he touched me here and here and here. And, I think that will still remain one of the toughest scenes I've done as an actor. It was, and that child was she's such a beautiful child, Naisha, and so innocent that even today it breaks my heart that we had to put her through that. But I'm hoping she didn't understand what was happening. I'm hoping because she would be playing before the scene and then she would come, she'd just rehearse the dialogues and do it and go away, So I'm hoping that she actually didn't understand what the scene was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There have been obviously these tough scenes, and it is a tough issue. There's no doubt about it. I think one of my key takeaways from what you just shared, Vidya, right now about what an adult survivor feels and what an adult survivor goes through, I think is really, really critical. And the fact that you portrayed action, to me, I thought that was brilliant. That we don't need to be silent bystanders. If we think that there is something wrong that's happening, it absolutely makes sense to find out what's going on. And I'm just wondering, what is the message that we can give to parents who are here with us today in the audience? There are school teachers and principals in the audience today, some social sector professionals. So Joy and Vidya, both, if you could answer this. And it also reminds me of that scene where, Durga Rani is speaking to the principal, and the principal just can't believe that this could be happening with Minnie. And she's like, no, but I know the family. I can't believe that this is happening. So it's often also met with disbelief. One doesn't want to believe that somebody could do something like this, or a well-known person could do something like this. Would love your inputs on the messages to all of us.
Joy. Okay, firstly, I want to say I know Sujoy didn't intend it that way, but I was happy about the fact that he chose to show the Divans as a fairly affluent family, because we often want to we often want to believe that these things happen only in the poorer families, that they don't have morals, that they don't have feelings, and that they could go down to any level to get what they want in life. But I think for me, it made a lot of sense that they were actually a very affluent family, very as in fairly affluent family. And sorry, I forgot the other part of the question that you asked me.
The message that you would like, the fact that it's often met with disbelief.
I think it's important for parents also to realize that, one, that they have, it's not, if your child is going through something like this, God forbid, that it's not a reflection on you or the way you're bringing up your child. These things can happen anywhere, and you are also not to blame. You don't have to feel guilty. I think when you realize that, you'll probably find it easier to take action. It will give you strength, to even stand up against your own people if need be. Take legal recourse, seek help with organizations like Arpan or counselors. I think that's also another aspect, right, Pooja? Because a lot of times they feel so shamed. They feel like, they must have done something wrong for something like this to happen.
Yes.
You don't have to, it can happen to anyone, anywhere. So if it's happening, I think it's important not to shove it under the carpet, and rather to, address it, however tough it is, however heartbreaking it is, and to do what's right for your child.
Absolutely. Yeah, I so agree. So, Joy, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, we as adults, as parents, as more responsible than children, we need to take care of them. We have to look out for them. It's a very easier said than done sentence, but like what Vidya says in the film, what Durga says in the film, how does a 6-year-old know the difference between love and abuse? They know what you teach them. Okay. And like both of you said, we need to come out and fight this. There are a lot of times we tend to take a back step just to save the so-called moral of the family or the whatever, just to hide the fact that something so bad can happen within a family. We need to rethink. We need to think about the child more than the family, because a 6-year-old don't know how to pick up the phone and call Arpan.
Yeah.
Okay. They won't know. It's you who have to call Arpan. It's you who have to go to the police station. It's you who have to stand up against whoever that family member is, who's doing this to your child. That's it, because we read up a lot, and there's one thing which still haunts me, because I read up a lot, and every time we used to write this script, we used to read, and used to take a 2 weeks break because it's to mess with your head. And there's one victim who just wanted somebody to tell her that it wasn't her fault. That's it. That's all she wanted. Somebody to come and tell her it wasn't her fault. Because most of the time, the victims are made to believe it's your fault. It's because of you. It's the way you do this, the way you do that. So, and as a result, they all turn out to be Durga, who hates herself, who keeps herself away from all the people around her, just to not to be, the fact that maybe she has some kind of attraction is a fault. So I think it's very important. Yeah, you should look after your children.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And I so agree with both of you. As adults, the onus of protection lies on us adults. Young children cannot protect themselves. They can participate in their safety. And so it's important to teach them personal safety, differences between safe and unsafe touches, building communication channels, and letting them know that if you're in an unsafe situation, come and tell us, and we will help you, and we will believe you. I think those positive messages absolutely need to go out to our children, so that in an unsafe situation they can reach out and seek help. And I think this point that both of you made about it being my fault, the victim tending to think it's my fault, I think is really the biggest guilt that survivors live through their entire lives. I still remember, I want to talk about this incident which has stayed with me, one of those stories in this 15 years of doing this work. Many years ago, we were doing a training session with parents in a school. And a grandmother of a child who had come to attend the parents' session, the parents weren't able to come, so the grandmother came. And after the training was over, the grandmother walked up to the trainer and she said that I have heard that you are going to do this session again next week. So I wanted to ask you, can I come again? So the trainer said, but you've attended the training today. We'll be doing the same thing next week. So she said, but I still want to come. And the trainer asked why. And she said that I am 72. And for the first time in my life, I am hearing somebody tell me that it wasn't my fault that I experienced sexual abuse as a child. Can I come and just hear it one more time? I want to hear it one more time that it's not my fault. It just sort of just shakes you, like, 72 years of living with that perspective that it was my fault. It's just so huge, and millions of people across the world live with that. And I see, so Joy, how in the script you've woven that, where Minnie tells Durga Rani Singh that, but Dadi कहती है मेरी गलती है.
Yeah.
And the script is written so sensitively, so beautifully, and so many nuances of the issue have brought in. And you were just sharing how you've spent weeks writing it and then taking break and then weeks again. And clearly you've read a lot. Anything else that you would like to share with us on how did you really build the screenplay? Such a powerful one.
It took a lot. Me and my colleague Suresh and I, we wrote this. We read up a lot. And there's so much information. You don't know what to take, what not to take, and everything seems so relevant. Everything seems so extremely relevant. But I think the way we wanted to portray it is we wanted people to think about it. We didn't want to show anything. We wanted people to think about the horrors of this activity or issue. So we kept, and that's how we wrote it. And it was very hard to write because this is not a matter which you can trivialize or be frivolous about. There are people who have gone through this. For them, this is not funny. You have to. I think that's one thing even Vidya said right at the beginning. We have to be extremely concerned about people and their feelings. You cannot use such a topic to make an entertaining film. It has to have some kind of importance to it. And I think that's what we kept in mind. There was no way, it just happened. Pooja, I don't have a glamorous story to say how we wrote the script and how it turned out how it did. But it's just that we just maintained some discipline in terms of to being completely respectful and bring out those issues. Especially that scene took us a long time to write, that Vidya was just, when she tries to get her to speak. And she's talking about her own experience, and she's saying, they touched me here, they touched me there, and the girl is talking. So I think, we wrote it, and anyway, and thank you, Madam Balan, for portraying it like the way she did. Otherwise it wouldn't have been. It's a different thing to write, and it's a different thing to bring it on screen. And what you see is what Balan brought to screen. We wrote it, but a lot of.
Thank you.
And Naisha and all of them did so beautifully. For Jugal to do something like that, same kid of Masoom, to come out bravely and say, I will do something like this. Hats off to him, It's not easy to do something like that. But yeah, they did it. They all believed in it and they did it. And for that, I'll always be grateful. That's how it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It does take that mettle to go do something like this. Did both of you sort of, or all the actors involved in the video, did you change anything in the script as the movie went ahead? Or did you just follow the screenplay? I'm sure, I'm just wondering, I don't know too much about cinema and the way films are made, but, did you all change dialogues? Vidya, did you think that for the role of Durga Rani Singh, did you want to sort of add something or remove something just to bring out the role more? And what was your thoughts around?
I think, Sujoy had done his due diligence as far as the issue is concerned. And the script read, when I read the script, I read in it a lot of sensitivity to the issue, towards the victims or the survivors. And, so I just felt like with someone like Sujoy, I don't have to do any I don't have to add even a line or half a line or anything. It's all there. Script, yeah.
Wow.
And we were well prepared before. This was not the kind of film that you could just walk into and say, okay, I think we had enough and more conversations around it.
Yeah.
And it yeah, I think we were well prepared before we went there. And yet I'm so glad we did our homework beforehand, because on set it was actually, anyway, I can't say this enough, that it was like going through the ringer emotionally. So I'm glad at least the other spade work was done beforehand.
Yeah. Wonderful. There's also a very thoughtful characterization of the way Durga Rani looks. Probably one of those roles, Vidya, I don't know, where one can see very plain, very simple, ties her hair in a certain fashion. It looks very ordinary. And, you were talking about how this is also linked to, she being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And I'm wondering how that, how is that thought out, the way Durga Rani looks and the role you played as Durga Rani.
I think very clearly, like I told you, she's someone who didn't pay any attention to herself. She barely ate. She'd just buy fruit all the time and then be trashing it because she wouldn't actually have the fruit. She wouldn't do anything that was good for her. She would have bread and cheese if she really got hungry. They were obviously in a cold place. Her skin was dry, but she just didn't take care of herself. Because she wanted to be invisible. The fewer people that noticed her, the safer she felt. So I think that was what I remember very clearly, going through those costume trials. And I remember Sujoy didn't want anything that would pop out. Also in the second half of the film, when, she's saved Minnie and then she's got hope, she's got a new zest for life. You see color coming. The first, you see her in a yellow sari. But in the first half of the film, where she's actually still not come to terms with what has happened to her, you see her in really dull and drab colors and, barely ever smiling. And actually, Minnie is the one who brings a smile to her face.
Yeah.
So I think she wanted to be a fly on the wall, she wanted to go unnoticed. Absolutely. So I think everything that we did with the look was adding up to that.
Yeah.
Had to add up to that.
Portrayed. Very, very well portrayed. Yeah. And that's what we see with adult survivors of sexual abuse. There's difficulty in relationships. There's difficulty in there are psychological issues because any trauma changes the perspective around relationships in the world. We also see symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder in survivors. Also, very often depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies, substance abuse. Many effects and long-term effects in survivors. I thought that the character was very, very powerfully portrayed. Sujoy, do you want to add something to that?
No. When we were doing the research for that whole how they appear, I had read one article where this woman was abused by her uncle. Okay, to a certain extent, that was for me, that was Durga's backstory, And when the aunt found out, the aunt told her, "It's your fault that you're attractive." And that girl went through her life just trying not to be attractive. And that was one of the sources for Durga's appearance. If you see her, the cut of her clothes, it's all cut like a man. It's all very flat. The kind of clothes she wears, the kind of color she wears, it's almost like she was saying, she just wants to be a fly on the wall. She doesn't want anyone to notice her. She doesn't want anyone to even, because she's scared of her attractiveness. She has been made to feel guilty about her attractiveness. The fact that she's beautiful is a crime. That's how it's had been built into her head. And now she has met Arun, another man. She's trying her best. She's trying her best to fight that thing that has been carved into her head, to eat maybe one more fruit, maybe, even there's a time when she invites him in to a house, and he touches her, and to see her react, it not only scared the life out of Arun, it also scared the life out of us who were filming it, but that's how that's what they do. All these horrible people do. They make the victim feel guilty so they can get away with it. They make the feel, and that's what we wanted to say, and that's how we designed Durga.
Right.
And thankfully this lady agreed to it without any makeup, and it just, but that's what people go through in their life. We went through it for maybe 1 month, but the fact is we have to do something about, so people don't have to go through this through their life.
What made you cast Jugal Hansraj as the perpetrator? So good looking, so confident. It was interesting to see somebody like him as the uncle who is abusing Minnie. And I wonder, what are your thoughts on that?
Exactly what the headmistress said. No way, sawal hi nahi hota hai. And that's what we wanted. We wanted somebody whom you look at and say, nahi, how is that possible? No, you're wrong. Bullshit, ye ho hi nahi sakta. But aise hi hota hai. This is exactly how it happens. And I'm very grateful to Jugal for having agreed to do that role. Because he was complete the anti, I don't know what that word is, anti something to the
casting
appearance. But that's what happens in real life, whether you like it or not,
Very true. I completely agree with you. Most often people whom we wouldn't even think that they would do something like this. During one of my readings, I came across this learning. This is a story about, an American prison. And the prisoners were sitting, and somebody walks in, a new person who's been sent to prison. And all of these people talk amongst themselves, and they say he has probably done a crime of sexual assault. And there is this newly person also who'd come newly into the prison, and he goes like, how do you guys know what crime has he been sent to prison for? And they say, just look at him, clean shaved, looks great, can't be a thug like us, can't be a thief, definitely sexual assault. And actually it turned out like that. Well, we can't believe that people who look normal, who don't look like thugs, can not commit this crime. But the fact is that it's just anybody who can do it. Yeah. Brilliant casting, and brilliant direction, brilliant screenplay. I would love to hear from both of you. What were the reactions both of you got when the movie was released? What did people say?
For me, one of the reactions, of course, people were very disturbed. And there were lots of people who wrote to me saying, I think to both of us, saying, thank you for doing this. And I finally feel like I'm not the only one this has been done to. But what for me was really jolting was when a friend of mine called me and said her father did something to her when she was a young girl. And she went and told her mother about it. Her mother didn't believe her. So she grew up hating her mother. And then after a while, I think I used to always wonder why she indulged in overcompensatory behavior all the time. I didn't understand the genesis of that until she told me this, because obviously she felt like she had wrongly accused her father, even though it had actually happened, until Pooja had happened again, and this time with her daughter. Her father did the same thing with her daughter, And finally now, around the time that Kahaani 2 released, she told me, she said, now I know that I haven't been a liar. I wasn't a liar. That, if he did it to my daughter, I'm sure he did it to me also, that I wasn't just concocting a story. And, I was trying my best to hear her out calmly and not react. But I cannot even tell you, it was such a difficult conversation. It changed the way I saw her. It changed the way I understood a lot about her when she said that to me. She's paranoid about her daughter. And I always wondered why. All of us would tell her, listen, everyone has children. Why are you behaving like she has cameras fitted in her house everywhere? And we'd be like, but your parents are with your child all the time when you're at work. So how does it? We didn't realize that it was her own parent and her parents actually that she was more scared of. That is definitely one of the reactions that's etched in my memory. I remember not being able to sleep. I remember not feeling, like we don't know so much about the people we know, or we think we know.
Yeah.
And lots of people are carrying these demons within them. And I wish they could get some help. I wish they'd seek help. But this is, but we had a lot of people writing to us at that time. Sujoy?
Yeah, I mean, I came across people I didn't even know, and that scared me because I was not qualified to help them. But the fact that they're actually emptying their heart out to me is incredibly scary, because you don't know, and you're not expecting them to say these things to you, and you hear them out, and you really don't know how to. So yeah, a lot of feedback, and I think one of the most not disturbing but an amazing feedback I had is when we took the movie for censorship. So the board of censors saw the film, and there was a gentleman, Anurag, I still remember. He came out and said, normally a film like this would not go out without an adult certificate, but this issue needs to be told. So we are not going to give you an adult certificate. And I think that was the most humbling experience I've ever had. I didn't even know what to say to them, but he said, go away before we change our mind. So I just, ran away. But it's great to know there are people out there who's willing to stand by you, if you want to if you want to do something for a good cause. But yeah, a lot of reactions.
Amazing. Really, really amazing. And to hear the kind of reactions you had and people sharing their stories and pouring their hearts out. And yeah, like you said, there are so many untold stories and so many people living with those demons in their heads. And such a great point that, we don't realize what's happening with the people we know when we see some symptoms, but we think that, oh, why is this person behaving like this? But maybe one of the messages that we can take away from what both of you have said is that inquiry, whether it's a child or whether it's an adult, if something seems off, can we all ask, hey, what's going on? Can I help in some way? Or, I'd be happy to listen to you and not just go on ignoring what we can see. Obviously, there is something wrong. And we have found disclosures happening with just that enough confidential space being given out, whether it's children, whether it's adults. If you just create a safe space for people share. COVID hit last year and all our work went online. So whether it's Zoom, Google, we were using online platforms even today to share. And during our trainings, you can be an anonymous attendee on these platforms. And increasingly, we are seeing people putting in the chat that I have been through this. and they have created, they felt that space that I can share about my experience with this group, though they might want to maintain anonymity. Some people don't want to maintain anonymity, but just having that safe space that, I can share. And so I think that in an environment and in a world, if we can create these safe spaces, we can help so many more people deal with this, whether it's children and adults. I think that is such a powerful takeaway from the film and from everything that you've shared. Just really, really brilliant. Super. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. And I've actually, through the conversation, have got goosebumps at times when y'all were sharing the experience of making Kahaani 2 and on an issue so critical such as child sexual abuse. I am going to take your final comments, but I'm going to wait for that. I want to take this opportunity to celebrate in some way a milestone that Arpan has reached. In this month of June 2021, we complete 15 years of working on the issue of child sexual abuse. And the journey started in June 2006, and we've created a video, a milestone video of how the journey has been. We would love to share it with both of you and our audience today, and then end with some closing comments from both of you and take that forward. So I'll be sharing that right now.
Every year, millions of children are subjected to sexual abuse in India and the world and experience lifelong impact. This was unacceptable to our founder and CEO, PoojaTaparia, who started Arpan 15 years ago with a mission to prevent child sexual abuse and heal those who've experienced it. With one counselor conducting awareness sessions on the issue with parents and teachers, the journey began in June 2006. In 2007, Arpan was established as a trust, and we started providing therapy for adult survivors of sexual abuse. We started teaching children personal safety in schools in 2008, and in 2009, we strengthened the program by building a unique model of prevention and healing to enable disclosures and help children heal through therapy. We also started providing therapy to rescued minors in a shelter home. In 2010, we began our training program to replicate the personal safety education program across India and achieved a milestone outreach of over 10,000 individuals. We hosted a core group of NGOs and lawyers to develop a detailed draft of laws to address child sexual offences, which has contributed to the POCSO Act. In 2011, we grew by 63% through our programs and won the India NGO Award 2011, applauding Arpan's quality of work in a difficult area such as child sexual abuse while maintaining high organizational standards. For the first time, Arpan stepped out of Mumbai to implement the Personal Safety Education Program and the Training of Trainers program in 2012. We also presented Arpan's work in London and at the White House in Washington, D.C. We crossed the 1 lakh outreach milestone that year. In 2013, Arpan took the Personal Safety Education Program to rural areas of Maharashtra. In 2014, Arpan published researches and books to spread more understanding on the issue of child sexual abuse, and for the first time had the Personal Safety Education Program evaluated externally by IMRB International. In 2015, we released a research on our long-term psychotherapeutic work, Rescue and Remedy, a process documentation of psychotherapy with children in institutions. Arpan also hosted its first ever Personal Safety Education Conference to discuss and strengthen preventive strategies with school partners. The conference also featured our first ever children's panel discussing the impact of PSE and the way ahead. We took a giant leap as we showcased our work globally. We presented a paper on personal safety education at the Asia Pacific Regional Conference on Child Abuse and Neglect at Kuala Lumpur, and also disseminated our resources to organizations from multiple countries. Having built the pedagogy over multiple years, Arpan released the first ever cutting-edge personal safety education kit for grades 1 to 6 in English, Hindi and Marathi in 2016 for teachers to use in schools. We also showcased our work to the world at the Women Deliver conference in Copenhagen, and Arpan received its first international award, the C. Henry Kempe Award by ISPCAN USA in Calgary for significant contribution to the field of child abuse and neglect. In 2017, Arpan conducted its first international training in Bhutan and launched the My Safety book, a resource for parents and teachers on personal safety for children above 4 years. We also released our case study on integration of personal safety education program in schools that year. Celebrated actor Vidya Balan joined Arpan as its Goodwill Ambassador in 2018. We reached a milestone of impacting 1 million children and adults through our work that year, and also went digital with the launch of our e-learning platform www.arpanelearn.com. While Arpan was receiving great support and appreciation from external stakeholders, its employees also voted Arpan as a great place to work. Arpan launched the first Child Safety Week campaign to build a collective movement to raise awareness on the issue of child sexual abuse in 2019. Arpan also won the WISE Awards 2019 by Qatar Foundation Doha for its impactful personal safety education program. In 2020, Arpan launched an FAQ for adolescents to help them find answers to the questions they are unable to ask otherwise. Continued advocacy with NCERT resulted in our personal safety messages being integrated into the National Life Skill Curriculum of the Indian government's Health and Wellness Initiative Ayushman Bharat. This curriculum, which will potentially reach 260 million children in India, was launched in February 2020, after which all members of the state resource groups across India were trained. This was a huge milestone for us, taking us closer to our vision of having every child know personal safety. Arpan also conducted its largest training to date by training over 120,000 teachers across Maharashtra. In 2021, our personal safety modules are being aired on Doordarshan's education channel Swayam Prabha, potentially reaching 40 million households across India, and our digital content has been customized for our partners in Guatemala and Philippines, making Arpan's e-learn content global. So far, Arpan has impacted 1.6 million or 16 lakh individuals through programs and catalyzed thousands of heartwarming stories of change. We also had a reach of 27 million or 2.7 crores through varied media. We hope to reach and impact 300 million more in India and globally in the next 15 years, and to help create a world that is free from child sexual abuse. A huge thank you to all our co-travelers, current and past employees, board members, advisors, partners, supporters, and donors who have helped us achieve these milestones. And most importantly, to all the thousands of children who have humbled us and motivated us. We look forward to achieving many more milestones together with your continued trust and support.
Well done, Pooja.
Thank you so much, Sujoy. And thank you so much, Vidya, for being on this journey.
No, congratulations on completing 15 years of literally impacting lives, and God bless you all and more power to you, as I keep telling you when you send me the updates on the kind of work that you're doing. And even through COVID, you all have expanded the scope of what you do. And hats off to you all, and thank you for all of that, you and the entire team at Arpan.
Thank you so much. It's indeed been a journey of transformation for all of us. Changed attitudes, changed perspectives, changed people.
Sure.
Appreciate everyone who's been a part of this journey and ecosystem in any way, small or big. I think each person has added their brick in building of Arpan, and it wouldn't have been possible without everyone's efforts in it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the next 15 years are going to look like. How can we grow our ecosystem and reach millions more children and adults and help prevent child sexual abuse? Any closing thoughts, Sujoy and Vidya, before we end the webinar?
Yeah, I think it's, if I have to say something, again, to reiterate, you have to look after our children. If we don't, nobody else will. We have to look after our children. And God forbid, if you come across somebody who's gone through this ordeal, these horrific things, just tell them it's not their fault.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much said it all. I think firstly, just we need to trust our children when they share something with us and not judge them. And we need to create, I guess, a safe space where they can just be completely honest, and that won't happen overnight. That has to be encouraged over time, with allowing them to just be themselves. Because the moment judgment comes in, they just close themselves to the world. Because if they close themselves to the families, then they're pretty much closing themselves to the world. So please trust them, and that, and take the action required. Of course, I hope no one has to confront this reality, but if you have to, then I think we owe it to the children we bring into the world to keep them safe.
Absolutely. Brilliant. I think so well concluded and so well put about, keeping all of these things in mind. And, overall, we all have an onus. Our children, we have no other way, no two ways but to protect them from any kind of abuse. Absolutely. Brilliant. I think this was such a powerful webinar. So happy to have both of you join us. From Arpan, from all organizations working on the issue of child sexual abuse, a huge thank you to both of you. So Joy, thank you for thinking of making Kahaani too. Vidya, thank you for playing the role of Durga Rani Singh. I don't know if any other actor could have done justice to that role. The way
thank you.
It was just mind-blowing, just amazing. And thank you so much for joining us here today and sharing this experience of making the movie and the role and the screenplay and the thought behind it and what went through your minds as you were making it. I think for all of us, it's been an enlightening experience. A huge shout out to all our outreach partners for today's webinar. Vidya, your fans, VB Inspired, Vidya Balan Inspired fan groups. We've got all our parenting partners who've spread the word. Moms of India, Quick Mommy Hacks, Inner Wheel Club of Mumbai, First Moms Club, Buzzing Bubs. Thank you all for sharing about this webinar through your platform and being able to bring so many of us together for this discussion and this enriching experience of hearing both Sujoy and Vidya together. Thank you so much.